Well, I just want to say welcome to Cisco Live 2022. It has been an absolutely fantastic time so far this week, and we're here at the THWACK Livecast. If you are joining us, you'll see a chat session. Hold on, got to do the math in my head. Think over there. If you cannot participate in the chats because you haven't signed into THWACK, so just go up to the top, hit sign in, log in real fast, and then you'll be able to redirect it right back to that page, and then you can participate in the chat. We have moderators watching that chat to answer questions, and today we are going to talk about all things observability. Well, maybe not all things. We did cover some of that in previous live casts, but it's not just me. So any of you know me, I'm Kevin Sparenberg. I'm the technical content manager here for THWACK. I've been a SolarWinds customer for a very long time. I've been a SolarWinds employee for almost as long now. And I also have with me Tony Johnson. Hey, Tony, thanks for joining us from across the pond.
Hey, Kevin. Good to see you. And nice background. What is that, a claw machine I see there?
It is a claw machine, and unfortunately, this is the last day of the show, so I don't know if our viewers can see it. It's running a little low. We are trying to get more restock in it, so if you are here at Cisco Live, please visit us. We are at booth 2366. It's pretty easy. Come in, make a left, look for the orange everywhere. This year, it is a new booth, and I'm super happy about it. It has been a great show. Tony, I know you've been going around and talking to a bunch of our customers over what's it been, like the last 4 or 5 months? I mean, you just recently got back to like your home, right?
Yeah, we spent some time in the Middle East there in Riyadh and Dubai talking to partners. We're very excited about all things hybrid cloud observability and what we're working on.
Yeah, I think that's one of my favorite things to have the discussions here. If anyone is listening and you hear me being a little scratchy or you hear me clear my throat, I apologize. I have been talking nonstop about the SolarWinds solutions for the last 3+ days, plus some talks after hours with some customers who came in and had really interesting scenarios where I wanted to give them a deep dive on that kind of stuff. So I guess we should probably just jump right into it. I do want to cover real fast that this is obviously one in a series of live casts. We've had them on improving your network tactics, your IT journey, the Orion Platform automation, and now we're doing the series called Discovering Observability. This is the second in that. There is a third one coming up in about another month. If you've registered for this and you got the email notifications, you probably also got the links for that one. Thank you very much. I'll be on that one as well. But today's topic really is all about kind of understanding your next phase, because we've described what the platform is. We have answered a lot of questions from a technical aspect, and we're going to recover several of those. But this is like, okay, now I've made a decision. Where do I go from here? So that is, let's talk about a migration. Let's talk about an upgrade. Let's talk about if we want to start over because maybe we've gone to a cloud first option. And that's actually something I got a lot of questions about. We've had a lot of people come up to the booth and say, hey, in the last 12 to 16 months, maybe because of the pandemic, people have been, and management has said, let's really go very cloud first. And I've had a lot of discussions about hosting, putting the platform in AWS, putting it in Azure, putting it in GCP, putting it in whatever. Tony, have you found similar kind of conversations when you've been out and about?
Absolutely. There's a lot of questions around, do I need to migrate? What is an upgrade? What exactly is hybrid cloud observability? Is this something I can deploy in the cloud? Can I upgrade my existing applications? Questions around what should I consider if I am going to do a migration? It often can be an opportune time to move to a new version of an OS or finally complete that SQL migration that you had in mind. So certainly lots of interesting topics there around planning the future of your platform.
Yeah. So we'll go back. If anyone didn't see the first live cast, the very short one is what exactly is SolarWinds Hybrid Cloud Observability? And Tony, you're the PM for it, so I think I'm going to turn it over to you for this one.
Yeah, well, hybrid cloud observability, is a node-based packaging offering customers a broad set of visibility across their on-prem and cloud infrastructure. So quite simply, it's something that can be deployed on-prem. It's something that can be deployed in the cloud, either through the marketplace or through a self-hosted option in something like GCP. That's probably the most succinct description I could give. It's a set of functionality that gives you visibility into your infrastructure, applications, and logs. Again, we've got different flavors, essentials and advanced, and enterprise scale options there. So depending on your specific needs and how deep you want to go across that monitoring and observability, depending upon the scale at which you're operating, there are different node-based options available for all cases.
Okay, and I'm going to put a pause there real fast because it's one of the questions that's come up here a lot. Node-based. So we understand what a node is. Anyone who has NPM understands what a node is. Server and or router and or switch, and like the thing you actually monitor, not the child elements of that, not the interfaces, not the volumes, not the applications, so on and so forth. That is a real departure from the way we used to do this with kind of the a la carte solutions. And it's causing actually a lot of excitement because sometimes figuring out where your licensing needed to go was difficult. So a lot of the people I'm talking to, they're like, you mean you just need a literal count of the things I want to monitor? I'm like, yeah. That's
exactly.
It. We're done.
Yep. Quite simple. Like you said, switches, routers, firewalls, servers, that parent device. There are a few different definitions of what is a node, but most of us would understand it as being the entity device and not its child objects. But quite simply, that node-based licensing model gives you access to functionality to monitor hardware health across your network devices, monitor your critical applications, collect logs from those same licensed nodes, right up to backing up configurations of network devices if you're looking at the advanced options.
Yeah, and that's something I think we should probably cover. So there is this whole idea of, well, I already have this product, there isn't going to be a 100% direct match to match for everybody, because we did let you choose your solutions and build them as needed. And as customers grew, and I will be one of these people, I came in, I started with NPM. And then after a year, I added SAM. And then after a year, I added IPM UDT. And then after a year, NetFlow and VNQM. And after another year, and the licensing was a little, difficult. It was a little, I'm hesitant to use the word poorly defined because it wasn't. It was very well defined, but until you started using the product, you couldn't kind of get an idea of what that would be. Specifically for things like SAM, IPM, and UDT, you couldn't know until you started working with it.
Yeah, absolutely. That licensing model, worked well for individual product modules. It made it quite complex if you were trying to build a solution. Customers who start their journey with NPM will often try and use the product to solve other problems, and naturally will add on something like server and application monitor. And as those different challenges arise, perhaps it could be monitoring or forecasting in your virtualization environment. You will look for a product with a set of capabilities that can help you solve those problems, and you might add on virtualization manager. But you've now have 3 different products with 3 different licenses, perhaps 3 different renewal dates even for those, and the complexity that brings with maintaining your deployment when it comes to considering upgrades, hot fixes, and service releases, and so forth. So not just licensing alone, but also the management and maintenance of that deployment.
Yeah, and a lot of that we help by going to this new mono repo idea. We have basically brought everyone in. We're updating all the code base. We're doing a lot of work on the background, but ultimately it's so that people have essentially 2 choices. They have essentials, which I am mentally wrapping as I wanted to monitor the things, and then advanced, which is I want to monitor the things and also manage them. That's kind of the way my mind is kind of parsing them. But let's go over a couple scenarios, because I think that's what will help our customers. And if you have a specific scenario, please put it over in the chat. We will address it at the end when we have time for a Q&A. So let's talk with me when I was early on. I had NPM and SAM. What am I getting? What do I want?
kind of draw a direct equivalent, a customer with NPM and SAM is going to look at HCO Essentials. Essentials is providing you with all of the functionality of those two modules in addition to others, like the ability to capture logs and monitor IP addresses. So you're getting a broader set of functionality than you currently own in a simplified node-based license.
Okay. And in the event that I am perfectly happy with NPM and SAM and I say, I'm going to go to Essentials, do I have to use the IPAM and all of the other, like, can they just basically sit there?
They can just sit there. Absolutely. You have access to that functionality if and when you need it. Often organizations will undergo a lot of tool consolidation. So by having access to those within your hybrid cloud observability deployment, you're getting a head start on those migrations and getting more tighter and deeper integration with the nodes you're already monitoring.
Yeah. Cool. And can people stay? Like, are we forcing customers, you have to migrate to this platform right now by the end of the calendar year? Like, what's the deal with that?
Yeah, I suppose so. There's two parts to this. There's the Hybrid Cloud Observability product, which is built on top of the SolarWinds platform. Right, customers who own NPM today will have updates available to the SolarWinds platform, but will still own their NPM commercial license. So there's two parts. There's the upgrade for existing customers, and there's a migration to Hybrid Cloud Observability as a product license, if so desired.
Okay. Oh, cool. All right. So the other common scenario I hear, and honestly, when we ask customers in the booth, like, what do they have? The first two they normally rattle off, because I am at Cisco Live, which means it's primarily a networking event. The first two they rattle off is NPM NCM. Where does that leave us?
So configuration backup is part of the Hybrid Cloud Observability Advanced product. Okay, so it includes all of the essentials features, but in addition to that, configuration management, not just for network devices, but server configuration management is an integral part of security, but also looking at change detection to correlate performance and events. So NCM, or Network Configuration Manager, customers with NPM and NCM can upgrade to the SolarWinds platform and maintain those two individual licenses, or as planning a migration to Hybrid Cloud Observability would be part of the advanced.
Okay. So you move to advanced, and you still keep all of NPM, you still keep all of NCM, but you also get, I think the big one that people don't think about, you'll get NetFlow, you'll get server configuration monitor, which is honestly an underutilized tool in my opinion. Yeah. Because if I have like a web farm or something, I need to make sure they're all the same, like IIS settings or even Apache settings, or they need to be the same because they're, it's a farm. So yeah, there's some goodness in there. And I think this will help customers branch out more and kind of break down those silos. So it's not always going to be the network team or the systems team or the DB team or the virtualization team or those kinds of things.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly it. You've got a broader set of functionality to utilize when you consider the troubleshooting and diagnostic tools that are part of the platform, like AppStack, PerfStack, and those other solutions. So you've got a broader and richer set of reports and alerts that you can use, but also more functionality to monitor and observe across all elements of your infrastructure.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this. I think it simplifies the journey for a lot of people. But we talked two really simple scenarios. So let's throw you a curveball. Customer comes in, they've got network performance monitor, server and application, IP address, vert, network config, NetFlow. They also have 3 additional websites and 1 additional polling engine. Where do they have to land?
I suppose by definition, there's quite a lot of modules there. There are scalability features included in that set that you provided. Customers running something similar to that would be looking at Hybrid Cloud Observability Advanced with what we call enterprise scale. That is, based upon the ability to deploy additional polling engines, protect that SolarWinds platform deployment with high availability, across your primary and additional polling engines, have access to additional web servers and scalability solutions like Enterprise Operations Console. Somewhere in between there, customers who have one or two polling engines might benefit from moving to enterprise scale. But that would be my feeling based on those set of products.
Okay, and I just want to put a quick pin in that, because you said we moved to enterprise scale, so we get the polling engines, we get the additional web servers, so we can take the load off and spread it, distribute it. You mentioned HA, which is actually incredibly powerful on the Orion and the SolarWinds platforms. So they get all of that under like this one kind of bundle.
Yep, absolutely. And I suppose the additional benefit there, customers who have a large deployment like that like to carefully plan their upgrades. Quite often we're asked around lab licenses. So that is also an additional entitlement on the enterprise scale editions, is that lab license.
Lab license included if you get enterprise scale.
Yes.
We're done. Everyone buy enterprise scale. You will be happy with your performance and the way everything works.
That's
all right.
It.
No, if you have something else, the only other thing I want to do is this. We've talked kind of like, if I'm running this and I want to go to that and I want to run this. You also touched on earlier. So back when I started using the platform, it was still on physical gear. You bought a server, you installed the stuff on it, did your patching, did whatever, and that gear aged out in about 3 years. The operating systems have moved up. In-place upgrades for operating systems are not always great. Microsoft, the Linux vendors, they generally tell you maybe you should just build and move the stuff over. So I want to talk about the scenario because I did it 3 times when I was a customer for 8 years, did it 3 times during that time. And I just said, you know what? We're starting over. And one of them was my fault. Let me rephrase that. One of them was my manager's fault. It was my team's fault because they just didn't build it right from jump. They didn't read the docs. They didn't build it to the right specs. And they said, this will be good enough. It's like, no, it's kind of not. And then I rebuilt it, and I think in those days it was on server 2008 and ran it for 3 years and then said, oh no, now we need to move up so we can get the new features, so we can get the new security with the platform. So we had to rebuild it on another version. And thankfully at that point we went virtual. But the number of people that I see who aren't building new because it is a virtual environment kind of scares me. Like Windows Server 2022 is out and available and completely supported. So if you're still running 2016, please don't be running 2016. But if you're still running 2016, it's a really good time to say, you know what, let's start fresh.
Yeah, definitely. I know I personally feel nicer when I've got a nice clean set of operating system and database instances to move to and start that migration fresh rather than doing in-place upgrades. So there's quite a lot of things to consider. If you do have projects underway where you're perhaps moving to a newer operating system, perhaps you're moving to a newer database instance or refreshing the underlying hardware. I suppose that also translates into a lot of prerequisites to understand your deployment before you would actually undertake that. So keeping the host name, changing the IP address, things that can have a fundamental change on the operation of your SolarWinds deployment.
Mm-hmm. But things that we have tons of documentation on, and I know there's 5 or 6 different docs on the support center that say, want to migrate to cloud? You want to migrate just your database? You want to do this? You want to do that? We also have a lot of customers who have inherited the solution. Like the person who set it up, moved on to greener pastures, and then someone inherited it and they have no idea. And they're like, this isn't how I would have built it. Like they've been part of the live cast, they've been on THWACK, they've been asking questions. They're like, I wouldn't have built it this way. In the event that you want to, I don't want to sound gauche, but nuke it from orbit and start over somewhere, I still think there's valuable information you need to get out of your existing system. And the nice thing about this HCO build, if you want to go that route and you're thinking about cloud deploy, you can put it in the marketplace and you can run them in parallel, because we'll give you the same 30 days we give you for pretty much all of the products on that platform. So you can run them in parallel for a little bit. But I wanted to cover a couple things that I found in my past that were helpful. Of course, dump all of your node, the IPs of all your nodes, how you connect to them, if they're on different polling engines, which polling engine or data center, whatever they're talking to, so you can keep the distance light over WAN circuits and so forth. Other than that, definitely consider exporting all of your custom properties, because you're probably using them in ways that you want to continue to use them. Dump all of your alerts, anything that's not one of the out-of-the-box alerts, because they will be incredibly useful to tune for further use. Dump your reports, or at least dump any reports that have actually been run recently, and you can get that information. If you built your modern dashboards, grab them, your application templates that are custom to you, API pollers, device templates, log rules, just the list goes on, and it sounds intimidating, but if you do this, you can start a new system with old knowledge. So it really saves a lot of that. Now, of course, you can upgrade, not a problem, but people, I think, want to take this opportunity to start fresh. And especially if you're in a organization where they've now said, let's go cloud first, this is an ideal time to just go up to the Azure Marketplace, say, build me a new one from scratch, and I will export my custom properties from here, and I will go up there and I will import them, and I will export my alerts, and I will import them. And it's not that crazy to do. And then you just start your scans and add your stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely not overwhelming by any stretch. They are kind of tested and developed in product features that allow customers to migrate between multiple instances. Custom properties, of course, being fundamental to, I suppose, tuning the environment to your own use cases. So absolutely, custom properties would be at the front and foremost of the things I would consider exporting from one platform instance to another.
Yeah. For me, it's really those first two we talked about. It's your custom properties, because that's what makes your deployment your deployment. It's kind of the first stage in the customization. And then the alerts, which normally get triggered off with filters based off of said custom properties, the two really go hand in hand. Right. You save those two things, and you could potentially start with virtually nothing else, and then just do your scans, and then still be in a really good place. And of course, this is if you only want to start completely over.
It is, and I suppose there's one caveat to that as well. You import that content, but you must also consider, the historical data, right? So yes. If you need to, if you need to maintain that historical data, it's probably better to consider running two systems in parallel and planning that migration over, a period of time to first get your nodes monitored in two different instances, those critical nodes, and consider the cutoff period that you need for your data retention requirements.
Yeah, it's no different than any other system you're doing this kind of migrate or hot switch. It's never going to be a complete hot switch. You can do that, but for the historical data, for the ease of migration, this is something that you want to do kind of a slow roll implementation, at least for me. And for me, given my history with it, giving understanding the way the platform works, I would probably go and pick like a small office and like just add that in there, make sure that stuff is functional, and then add the next office, and then when you get to a certain point, then you can go ahead and do the hot cut. Literally just change your DNS pointers from this name to that name, and then everyone's using the new platform.
Exactly. It's there's a lot of options in deployment flexibility there. I know you mentioned again the marketplace offerings, but we have customers who will choose what we would again call the hybrid cloud option, right, where you have an element of your deployment on-prem. You could be using a cloud-hosted database, or inversely, you could choose to deploy your SolarWinds platform in the cloud and have an element of on-prem data collection with additional polling engines or remote collectors. So you're giving yourself the opportunity to not only deploy new and fresh and upgrade to the latest and greatest versions of everything you need, but also perhaps take that opportunity to re-architect your solution and align your deployment with where your organization is going over the next 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, because forget where you are, forget the operating system. Where your business is pointing and their directionality on that is not going to be the same as it was when this stuff was first installed. There are going to be new priorities. There are going to be new people who need access to the monitoring data. There's going to be new authentication schemes. There's going to be new security protocols. Maybe it's time to take that time and say, if I were to build this from scratch, what would I do? And then do that. And then, like you said, if it's in the marketplace and you're like, this isn't working for me, it's not great, I feel like I just need to do an upgrade, and the traditional upgrade migrate where you just build a new server and rerun the config wizard and whatever, and you say, this doesn't feel right for me, then you just stop it. And you delete the instances and you delete the cloud DBs, and no harm, no foul. I mean, that is for me. And that's kind of the benefit here, because before, if I wanted to do this, I'd have to ask for a proof of concept VM. I'd have to ask for a dev database server. I'd have to ask for access to build these databases and then get. This is an easy chance. If you are considering maybe re-architecting it, this is an ideal time to do that. And by moving that all to the new platform and also moving it out to a cloud instance.
Yep, and certainly, if you include in there the potential to move to hybrid cloud observability licensing, you may very well find yourself with additional features that were not available in your individual module licenses.
Yeah,
I know I mentioned
especially if you had
many,
especially if you had many of them, then it just simplifies the entire process.
Absolutely. I suppose it also serves as a good opportunity to kind of audit who has access. Right, that's something, as you mentioned, can be inherited and can evolve over time. But certainly, it does serve as a great opportunity to look at who and what type of access they have to your deployment.
Yeah, and it's a good time because I know a lot of people start off with, the general admin account, and then they add one or two for their friends. I say friends, work colleagues, who are hopefully also your friends. They add some for their work enemies, the network. If you're the network, it's the systems team. And if you're systems person, it's the network people. Those are your work enemies. We always know it's the network versus the systems. And then you kind of all work on that. But you probably already have your groups organized somewhere, and maybe it's time to review that stuff. And for me, moving to something like Active Directory over Azure, or what is it, AAD, I think they're calling it right now, Azure AD, or some other SAML solution somewhere, is probably, because you probably already have these groups defined, right? So just use those. Still keep like the admin with an incredibly complex password so you can make changes in case something happens or there's an authentication problem. But building permissions on groups is so much easier than finding every person that should be in this kind of thing and changing them everywhere. So honestly, save yourself a little headache. Do a quick audit. You should be doing this every so often anyway. But if you're building new, I will encourage you to also build a read-only account, a read-only group that is tied to like your help desk or your service desk, because the flexibility they get with that and being able to know that this problem is most definitely not network centric will help with the ticket routing for when they actually get those cold calls from your end users.
Definitely, for sure. There's a great opportunity to use those kind of more modern authentication methods, provide that additional level of security and simplify the management of groups and permissions.
Now, we did talk scalability engines already. Number one, I love the scalability engines that we currently offer, or because now we're currently offering that we've offered in the past. I specifically love the additional websites, because that's web work I don't have to have a polling engine do. And I can also like build 3 of them, put them behind an internal load balancer, and then I've got basically always up, always fast web interface. The additional polling engines do a fantastic job, but I'm sorry, the lab licenses alone is the chef kiss on that. Just because I'm that person that likes to build that stuff in a safe little environment, and then once it's good, I'm like, this is good. This is tested. This is exactly what I want. Export, go to the other place, import. Yep, perfect, done. And that way you're not like, I don't know, you're not experimenting in your live production environment. Now, you're not going to do catastrophic harm normally, but there's always that potential. So if you can get a lab license
Yep.
and work in a lab, work in a lab.
Definitely. It certainly affords users the ability to test an upgrade scenario, right? So we're
Mhm.
always kind of making enhancements around reducing the downtime it takes to perform an upgrade between changes to the database, an uninstall and reinstall of system services, and the eventual run of the configuration wizard. But we that will vary per deployment, right? Having a
Yeah.
lab license allows you to more easily test and predict what that downtime might be should you upgrade your production instance.
Yeah. It's one of the best tools at your disposal. And now that we're including it in the enterprise scale, I'm honestly, everyone, you're going to be really happy I'm not in sales, because I would be telling everybody you need the scale edition for every single thing just for the lab license. Please stop asking questions. Just get this, because that's how I feel about it. It's like I would rather have access to all these things, even if I only use. I buy advanced. I buy enterprise scale. I need NetFlow, NCM, NPM, and maybe IPAM, but I get the benefits of all these things, and I get a lab license, and I get to scale it out when and how I need without getting on the phone, without doing. And if I need an additional polling engine, I just go to my customer portal, right, and get a new key or something in that realm.
If you have enterprise scale, your license is going to include those additional pollers, so you can deploy those directly from within the product, and they're
So I
going to
don't
be
even have to go
licensed.
out and get a new key
Yeah,
gen, or
no,
just go with that. It's better.
nice and simple.
So yeah. So we spent a little bit of time talking about what I want to do if I want to start over. What are our upgrade paths? And just speak to them briefly, because I know we have a lot of documentation about it that are all going to be available in the show notes and the resource links. But speak kind of at a high level. What about if I want to upgrade?
So if you want to upgrade to the latest version of the SolarWinds platform, that is based or only available for those who will be licensed for Hybrid Cloud Observability. So
Mhm.
you've got two options. You can start planning your migration to Hybrid Cloud Observability based around all of the topics that we kind of covered this morning or this afternoon, depending on where you are. Or if you're a customer who's running NPM and SAM, and you want to take advantage of the latest and greatest features that are in Hybrid Cloud Observability, you can move your licensing and upgrade to the latest version of the SolarWinds platform.
Okay. Okay, so we've got paths for anyone for whatever scenario they're running with. And I know we've been planning this for a long time, so I know you did a lot of the homework. I know we talked to all the teams, and I know that we've prepared as much documentation as possible. But if people have questions, I think one of the easiest places is there's a forum now. So when we launched Hybrid Cloud Observability, we built the Hybrid Cloud Observability forum on THWACK. It's the first thing under your products, Hybrid Cloud or Observability, Hybrid Cloud Observability. It's a forum in there. I know you're in there answering questions. I know several other PMs are in there, because this isn't like the other singular products. It really is everyone is coming together to make a better solution. So one good thing for me as part of the community is that also means that more people are participating in that forum from the SolarWinds side and answering the questions pretty quickly, because we're kind of all over the planet anyway.
Absolutely, yeah, we've got a great team all contributing there to the activity on the HCO forum. I suppose one of the other areas that we like to hang out is around the Orion API SDK forum, and it would be remiss of me if we didn't at least mention that. That's there for advanced users as well. If you're looking at kind of orchestrating or automating, any of your kind of migration activity. So just wanted to include that little bit.
Yeah, I know that I have a script that is not ready for public consumption that will dump all of your alerts. I have one that is not quite ready for production that will dump all of your custom properties with like the identifiers on them. I will say 100% that I have one that works fantastic for exporting your modern dashboards. That one works great. And that one's up
That's
in GitHub, so
fantastic.
people can just grab it. All right.
Yeah.
So one of the questions we're getting a lot, we're getting it from here. I've seen it on THWACK. I've heard it from our MVPs. I've seen it on the forums. I'm going to lay it out there, completely honest. Is the Orion platform dead?
Quite simply, no. I think what the easiest way I could describe it is the evolution of the Orion platform to the SolarWinds platform. Over the last 18 months, we've spent a lot of time re-architecting how we build software to align with our secure by design objectives and goals. And the net result of those efforts have reduced the time it takes us to have a stable build across 14 different products and code bases down to a single, you could consider it a deduplicated, simplified code base, which is new, right? But is also improved. It doesn't make any sense to create an entirely new platform for customers who are already familiar with how to manage users, how to create views, dashboards, alerts, reports. The SolarWinds platform really is the next gen platform for the individual module licenses, but also the Hybrid Cloud Observability product offerings. And so that simplified node-based licensing of HCO is the first product that can take advantage of the SolarWinds platform, but absolutely not. The Orion platform is not dead by any means. That is still supported. Folks who are on 2020.2.6 versions will receive future hot fixes. The Orion platform is certainly not dead.
Yeah. And I will say it's not dead because the SDK still says Orion everywhere in it.
Yeah.
You can only go so far. One of the other things that's kind of dovetailed into that is, and I like that you said basically it's evolved, because we've taken 20 years of experience building these technologies, more than 20 technically, a little more than 20 years building these technologies. And a lot of that investment, at least after around NPM 8 or 9, was really invested heavily in the Orion platform, and then NPM as kind of a bolt-on for that. And then SAM did the same thing. All of the products informed the platform and made them better. And the fact that we're taking all of that collective knowledge, that technology, and really reusing that in a positive way, but giving an opportunity to re-architect and reorchestrate, and like you mentioned, the dedupe, cleanup, secure, all that code, is this literally is like, to evolve. It's Orion, the new SolarWinds platform, and I'm going to mess it up. So if people hear me speak, I'm going to try to start saying SolarWinds Orion platform, so I can start just saying SolarWinds platform, because they really are the same. It's the natural progression of it. As our customers have to break down these silos, it's only right that we also break down these silos between the a la carte products.
Absolutely. Yeah. You mentioned your journey with SolarWinds as a customer. You start with NPM. You're solving a problem that needs application monitoring. That shouldn't necessitate you downloading, installing, and introducing downtime in your environment to get that additional level of functionality. A kind of internal running joke when I joined product management, we would say the platform is the product. Right. The individual modules are the licenses that entitle you to a set of functionality. That's one way of looking at it.
It's actually probably one of the best ways, and I think a lot of people do look at it that way without necessarily being conscious of it. All right, we've covered what we wanted to cover. We got some questions coming in, and I'm getting them through a back channel, so if I look down, I'm not ignoring you. Someone asked, is advanced the same as enterprise scale? But with the latter having scalability engines and lab licenses. I will take this one, and correct me if I misspeak, please. So there is essentials and advanced, and those are basically your two options. And either one can have what's called enterprise scale. So enterprise is not like another level. It's an add-on to either of essentials or advanced. So essentials basically gives you all the monitoring you want, and advanced gives you all the monitoring you want and all the management that we provide. And so, but either one can have the scale attached, the enterprise scale attached, so you can go out and make essentials scale out with HA and lab licenses and APEs and additional web servers. And if you want the advanced, you can also do it that way and say, you know what, I need more than one polling engine. I'll get the enterprise scale. I'll scale out as many engines as I want, and then I can work either way. So it's basically an extra feature. It's an add-on for either of the solutions. Did I speak correctly?
I think that was a absolutely perfect and accurate summary. You've
I paid attention in
two
class.
products. Yeah. Perfect.
Okay. We also, in the show notes, is going to be documentation breaking all this down. I actually recently, and I wasn't able to get it into the show notes that are going to go right now. Crystal Taylor, one of our head geeks, published a really good, succinct breakdown of what that is on Orange Matter. There is also great information about what it is and how it breaks apart, how the kind of the slicing and dicing of the various offerings works in the observability forum, the Hybrid Cloud Observability forum on THWACK. Let's see what else. Someone asked if we're going to look at using container deployments for the scalability engines for HCO at some point.
That would be highly desirable, something I would love to see. The efforts that we've undertaken over the last 18 months really are foundational to being able to move our code base into a kind of containerized solution. It's not on the immediate short-term kind of roadmap of where we would be headed, but certainly we are, taking an iterative approach to kind of getting towards those more modern deployment technologies.
And some of that involves because you could, in theory, and I've had this discussion with people, it's like, well, if you just had the information service run as a serverless thing somewhere, it's like, yeah, but there's a lot of technology under that has to communicate with all these other ones. So the amount of scale we would have to have if we were to containerize today, and I'm making assumptions, I don't know all the code base, but if we were to containerize it today, you would need so many containers that it would be way outside the realm of getting the benefit of containerizing this as opposed to running it on a server. But I know that the code base has been shifted in such a way that is something we could look at for certain feature sets. So being able to move, I don't know.
Absolutely.
And I'm making things up. Yeah. This is the way we're going. We know this is also the way we're going. Also, it gives us flexibility, gives you guys flexibility, gives everyone flexibility on how they want to deploy stuff. But short answer, not today. Long answer.
Not today.
Look at Matt.
There's things like unattended install that kind of can be used to help with that kind of level of automation if needed. But container technology for us is quite interesting. With where we've got a bit to go before we would see something like that.
Okay. One of the questions we're getting that I know we touched at one point, but maybe not, and we should reiterate here is. So let's say there's a feature, and I will pick on Meraki SD-WAN right now that's available in Hybrid Cloud Observability. Are those features going to be pushed back into the I'm hesitant to use the term legacy products, but the a la carte products and to the a la carte platform?
So, I suppose if you look at how we develop features and customers upgrade to get those features, no, we don't take a feature and backport it, 2 or 3 versions, right? So customers who want to use SD-WAN today would have to upgrade to Hybrid Cloud Observability. That is a feature of the SolarWinds platform that will be available to NPM customers when an upgrade is available for them. Right. So it's not that we will backport a feature. We will take customers on that upgrade journey to the SolarWinds platform. That is not to say that there could be a feature that could be exclusive to Hybrid Cloud Observability, because we know that customers then have the pieces to connect the dots between the network, the application, and maybe virtualization. Right? Those features might not be available to a customer who's running NPM exclusively. So I hope that kind of helps answer that in some fashion.
It answers it for me because I remember another Kevin story. Sorry, you're going on this aside with me. When I was trying to write a report that crossed the product boundaries, the module boundaries, and it was great, and I liked it, and I shared it, and then everyone who didn't have one of those products, no one could run the report. Now, that is a very, very simplified version of what you're talking about, a feature. But some things like the SD-WAN, like even the network insights, like the amount of information you can get from network insights is a really good example of why you can't always move something that was built for a platform that guaranteed has this feature set, can't always go to one that may or may not. I know that building the network insights to get them to show things depending on which products you had was a logistical I'm not going to say nightmare. It was logistically difficult. There was a lot of work in the code to get it to work, and it's just easier if we just know that these people are going to have, that this particular deployment is going to have NPM, NSAM, and NCM. If we know that, we know we can build this feature and we're done. Then,
Exactly.
like you said, there's kind of a barrier if we want to push that back.
Exactly. Yeah, we generally don't tend to. That's the nature of an upgrade, right? You get the latest features by upgrading. They may depend upon a distinct set of licenses being available to you. They may be features that are exclusive to one product but bleed across into others. And I think that report exactly serves as a great example.
What about air gapped? We got some high security people that don't want their stuff connected to the internet.
Yep.
They want to make sure that, or they're in a high security environment, they've got air gap networks or something like that. The product name is Hybrid Cloud Observability. How does that work in something that can never connect to the cloud?
Yep. So for me, hybrid cloud means the ability and the flexibility to choose how you deploy it. But if customers are running offline or in an air gap network, the same upgrade and deployment options are available. So you can get your ISO, you can download HCO, deploy it today, completely air gapped. We have the offline activation of the license if necessary. All those features and deployment options that you're already familiar with today still exist.
Yep. One other question, and I'm going to address one real fast. Someone's asking if customers are licensed for NPM in the legacy model. How do they move? How do they get? There's going to be a lot of links included with the show notes. I do not want to go. There's not many. There's a couple avenues we can take on that. I don't want to burn a lot of time on that because without visuals, it's actually kind of hard to explain the possible paths. But someone brings up a really interesting question from the community. Will ARM, Access Rights Manager, and I'm going to add on to that, and Security Event Manager, SEM, will those be rolled into observability? So is there plans to bring other products that are not traditionally on the platform to the platform in some way?
I mean, with such a great set of products across our portfolio, it would be very interesting to see what an integration with SEM and ARM could look like into the observability story and the SolarWinds platform. I know we do have folks actively, discussing those use cases to understand what customers would like to see and what additional problems we could solve. It's a little bit futures, right, to kind of give any indication as to what might be coming. But it's certainly, when you look at the technology, when you look at how we've simplified the SolarWinds platform, when you look at the hybrid cloud observability and observability story overall, that's a very interesting area for us.
Yeah. And the fact that we are continuing to develop our own APIs, the ones that run behind the DPA systems, the ones that run behind the DPM systems, if you're talking SaaS, the ones that are behind the Orion and now the SolarWinds platform. The maturity model for that allows us to look at those without having to go to a direct database call. So it adds a lot of interesting scenarios for us. I'm curious from the community that, we have feature requests open, right? So go to the Hybrid Cloud Observability, do a feature request, and write what you want. Because realistically, if you want ARM, Access Rights Manager, or information from Access Rights Manager, you probably don't want every single thing from Access Rights Manager in the SolarWinds platform under Hybrid Cloud Observability, but let us know what you want. And then we can work with that and maybe reach out to you, get some more information. Same thing for any of the other products. You want this on the platform, you want that on the platform. Hybrid Cloud Observability from a wholly community aspect is no different than any one of our other offerings. Give us feature requests, join the conversation. The only caveat right now is that it doesn't have its own content exchange because it's Orion evolved. So pretty much everything that's in the existing content exchange area, whether it's under Orion, NPM, SAM, et cetera, all of the content exchange, 95% of the time will just come right in. So.
Yep, definitely. We love a good broad set of feature requests to bring an aroma of future development and get those creative juices going, and scent the room with potpourri.
Yep, brilliant. Okay, we're actually running a little long. We didn't want to go too late on this because we have a booth to open. Tony, I know it's late in your day. I'm going to stay on the chat. Actually, I'm going to get on the chat because we're on the side one. I'm going to go ahead and get on the chat to answer a couple questions if they come in after this. But otherwise, Tony, thank you for being here, taking the time with us. If anyone wants this video, it'll be available in the same page, thwack.com/livecast. It'll be available in a couple of days when we get a chance to publish it after it's been fine-tuned. Next thing for me is I leave Vegas, I go home, I do some work, and then I will be jet setting to Austin, Texas for the SolarWinds user group. We have a SolarWinds user group opening up on September, opening up, wrong. We have one taking place on September 12th and 13th, so this year. So registration will be open soon. If it hasn't already opened, you can just go to thwack.com/swug and you can get there and go to the registration. This is a user group. Attendance is free. As long as you can get to Austin and have a place to sleep, come on in for 2 days of fantastic conversation. We will have SolarWinds executives. We will have a bunch of product managers. I will be there. I'm the least important person there. You will have people from all walks of life who can there. And more than anything, you will have the other attendees there. And the attendees are the ones that may be in your same vertical market. They might be the same ones that are dealing with the same kind of problem as you are, and maybe they already have a solution. It's a great way to just interconnect that kind of stuff and to network. So if you're in the Austin and or Texas area or can travel easily there, by all means, thwack.com/swug, sign up for that. And let us know what you want next. There will be a survey at the end of this, so please answer the survey. Let us know how we did. Tony and I take this at heart. We do want to be improved. We want to make sure we can give you better information. And if it's not in there, please, if there's not a note in there to let us know what you want to see on our next series for Livecasts, let us know. I love this series because it just feels like a conversation between two people, and we get to include you all with it. Tony,
definitely,
parting
Kevin,
words?
thanks very much. No,
all
absolutely,
right.
man. I'd just say I'd encourage anyone to get to the SWOG. Having been to my first SWOG in London recently,
oh, that was right.
Absolutely tremendous. Yeah. So definitely, if you're in the area, swing on by.
Yep. All right. So for Tony Johnson out of Europe and myself currently in Las Vegas, thanks for joining us on this live cast, and we'll see you on THWACK.